Well, war as we know it has changed. It wasn't the type of change that pulled the rug out from under your feet and left you laying on the ground wondering what the hell just happened. It was a gradual and elusive war that is actually being conducted in the shadows. Troops on the ground have given way to drone strikes. The CIA is now not only an intelligence gathering service anymore. Overt wars have made way for those wars fought in the shadows and out of the consciousness of the public. It is a trend that escalated during the George W. Bush administration and actually continued into the Obama presidency. And not every American mission has been a noble cause. Yesterday, I had a chance to sit down with Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times journalist Mark Mazzetti to discuss this. He's the author of the book, The Way of the Knife, The CIA, a Secret Army, and a War at the Ends of the Earth. And he began by talking about the transformation of the CIA from an intelligence gathering agency to one that conducts missions and targets people to kill.
So after 9/11, President Bush gave the CIA this broad authority to basically be at the center of these secret wars. So it was authority to go around the world and capture and kill al-Qaeda operatives. Now, the CIA, for the most part, had been as much as possible out of the killing business since the mid-70s, when a lot of the assassination attempts and coup plots came to light, and Congress tried to rein the agency in. What we've seen since 9/11 is the agency, as I said, has been at the center of these wars and really escalating in places like Pakistan and Yemen and parts of Africa. Initially, the strategy was really capturing and interrogation, and because of some of the controversies, after a few years, the agency largely got out of that, and increasingly we've seen a strategy of killing primarily using armed drones.
So it's moved from intelligence gathering to manhunting and now armed drones and targeted killings. Let's talk about the transition of also this metamorphosis of covert wars versus overt wars. In the past, we had mostly overt wars. Now we have a lot of shadow wars going on in Somalia, for instance. Can you talk about this transition and what benefits these kind of covert wars potentially offer or don't offer?
Well, what I've tried to write about in the book is, as much as possible, the history of these shadow wars since 9/11, so away from Iraq and Afghanistan, where this has taken place. So there's really a whole history of war since 9/11 that people don't really know the contours of. We basically know what happened in Iraq and what happened in Afghanistan, but for instance, in Pakistan, Somalia, Yemen, how are these wars waged? So if you take, for instance, Somalia has become sort of a laboratory for sort of various operations, whether they're missile strikes, hiring proxy armies, like the CIA at one point employed a bunch of warlords to take on Islamists. It was an operation that backfired and the Islamists were empowered. The CIA has used contractors. I mean, there's a lot of different things that take place in this laboratory that I've tried to write about in the book.
Sure. Now, obviously, the information that you gathered in this book is unbelievable. It's just very, very comprehensive. Why do you think people were willing to talk to you about it? Do you think that it possibly shows cracks in the system as it is right now? Or does it show possibly an agenda to leak these things? Or is there something even more to this?
Well, a lot of the book is reporting that I've sort of been building up over the years, and I got extremely little official help from anyone on this, and I relied on people that I've relied on over the years, sources that have come to trust me. It's very difficult right now reporting in this environment because there's been a crackdown on information, and so I'm very grateful, as I write in the book, to the people who did talk to me. And I think that the people, if there was an agenda, it was an agenda to sort of tell the history, to tell what really happened. And some people thought that too much of this has really been shrouded in secrecy for too long.
Now, Donald Rumsfeld once said that the CIA is becoming more powerful at the expense of the U.S. Defense Department. Why did President Bush prefer to use the CIA? And would you say that that is also being mirrored in the Obama administration?
I think initially the president saw the benefits of a CIA that could go around the world and had the authority to basically do whatever he wanted it to do. The Pentagon on 9/11 really wasn't equipped to carry out this kind of war. Rumsfeld wanted to change that. Rumsfeld, in many ways, tried to make the Pentagon more like the CIA, just as the CIA was becoming more like the Pentagon. He was trying to expand Pentagon authorities to send soldiers into places where soldiers didn't normally go, to gather human intelligence. I think that by the end of the Bush administration, the Pentagon really did have those authorities. But as you said, President Obama really has relied on the CIA, in part because the Pentagon has been tied down in the big wars. And I think that there is a presidents have seen this sort of seductive power of using secret, of carrying out wars in secret, and the CIA offers secrecy. Now, most of the time, they don't remain secret. You know, you can't keep a campaign of drone strikes entirely secret, but at least there's some deniability built in.
At the same time, I have to ask about the CIA accountability. We do know that the SEAL teams were actually put under the control of the CIA because the U.S. military was not allowed to go into Pakistan because we're not in war. So talk about the accountability on terms of the CIA, and could it be argued that some administrations are using the CIA as a way to circumvent law?
Well, they certainly have there's oversight of the CIA in congressional committees, and the committees, though, we found out recently, there's limits to what even they know. I mean,
and we also found out that the CIA oftentimes is misrepresenting some of the facts that they are talking about. One report in particular just came out and saying that the CIA lied to the Bush administration.
Well, right, and there's now a lengthy Senate Intelligence Committee report talking about how the CIA was as you said, lying about the detention interrogation program. Some were lying, they were lying to themselves even about exactly the efficacy of the program. That report hasn't been declassified yet. But, you know, certainly Congress, even the select members of the Intelligence Committee who are supposed to have access to the most highly classified information, sometimes don't even get it, as they don't even have the legal memos that justify the targeted killing program, as we found out in January and February. So, you know, the oversight does have its limits.
Which brings me back to my question: is the CIA used to circumvent the law sometimes?
Well, I mean, I think that the thing about the CIA is the law. It's the law whatever the president wants it to be. I mean, they operate under authority of the president to say you can go break the law in other countries. That is what the CIA authority is. So if the president says you can go around the laws of other countries, break the laws, the CIA does it. CIA has become a somewhat conservative organization in the sense that they want White House blessing, but as we've said, in the last decade or so, they've gotten that blessing more often than not.
That was Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times journalist Mark Mazzetti.